everyone, and welcome back to another edition of the High Point Hello. I'm Kevin McMahon, and we're joined by track and field cross-country head coach Mike Esposito here at High Point. Coach Espo, thanks for joining us this morning.
Hey guys, welcome to everybody. Crazy times. Hope everybody's safe. We're grinding away here and looking forward to getting back out in the field.
Coach, you guys had a great year, obviously. Everyone is really sad that it ended as quickly as it did for, the reasons that it did. But 3 championships this year in your program, women's cross country and then indoor track and field. Just a tremendous year. When you reflect on that, what are some of the things you think about now that we've had a little time?
First, you think of as why we didn't go 4 for 4. No, just kidding there. It's been building. I've got a tremendous staff that, we're getting additional support from the university, and it all started, it was starting to come to fruition here. And, we've got great kids, we've got great resources, we've got great support. We should be successful. And indoors, obviously winning cross country on the women's side, and then indoors was pretty special. And unfortunately, outdoors, we felt like we were going to be better. But there's obviously people struggling and suffering far more than us not having a track season. Doesn't take this thing away. We were hosting this year. We were hoping to go 5 for 6.
Right. Well, there's always, the next year coming up, but definitely, as you said in an interview after the championship, you guys were rolling, and you gave one of the great post championship interviews. Can you describe that feeling a little bit? Because you were very candid, you were very excited, and you've been here for you said over 15 years or 15 years here at High Point. And that moment, it felt like it all kind of sunk in that you had finally done it, not just one, but won both. Can you kind of revisit that moment for us?
Sure. In coaching, I've been in coaching a long, long time. There's probably not many coaches that have been at the same university for 15 years. And, had not won a championship. We'd won cross country, both men's and women's. We've had some individual success. But to, 15 for the 15th year to be when we first win a championships, I think it's pretty unusual. That's a credit to my staff. We were, never lost faith over the time, and Coach Mr. Hauser and Dr. Urbain's support. As the university grew, we were kind of like one of the things that, I don't know how to say this, that they added. We were always there, but said, hey, look, this is an opportunity to be very, very successful at in our particular sports. And that was a special time. And I think I'm also very blessed in that with this crazy virus and all that, at least our season ended. We ended with championships. Unfortunately for women's basketball and lacrosse and golf, they didn't even get to have their season completed. So that was a little unusual as well, and I'm very very grateful for that. But we're all pretty selfish, and would like to have 2 more.
Of course. And just to revisit back what you just said, but taking the lack of championships out of it, just in this era, in any sport, 15 years at one place is unusual. Just in that, taking the success out of it, a lot of people don't stay at the same place for that long. So it's a, testament to the great work you've been doing here.
Well, no, I appreciate that. And I do appreciate the the patience. You think of 15 years in this era. There's basketball coaches fired after 2 years, and track and field. We always wanted the expectations. It's not that we wanted to just be the little engine that could, and we did things right, and our kids graduated. I mean, that's extremely important. But we wanted to win, and we're in a position to do that now, and still do all the right things, and still have good students, and still have high character kids, and still have a good GPA, and still have kids go on to do great things when they leave here. We always want that. We'll never lose sight of that. And that's what we're in coaching for. but that we also in coaching to win. I think it's people, I would think they'd be lying if they said that, well, we're not in this for winning. So, but we want to win, and we want to win the right way. And now we're in a position to do both those things.
So just to put a bow on this part of the conversation, then we'll move on. But I know there's
we
a lot.
We can talk about this all day.
I know there's a lot of things that you'll think about when it comes to this season, especially the two indoor championships. But if you had to pick one thing you were most proud of from that run, is there one thing you can think of?
I think what I'm most proud of is that how our group not came together just on that day, but the development of the culture that we're always trying to better. Our as you were there, Kevin, our spirit, our passion, not just from the coaches and the individuals, but from all of even the student athletes that on our team that didn't get to compete that were there. I'm probably most proud of just how excited everybody was and how bought in everybody was. And we kind of took over Virginia Tech for the meet, and that's and they did it in a classy way. And it's funny, in our sport we always talk that hey, there's allowed to be emotion in our sport. You're allowed to be excited. You're allowed to, you just don't show anybody up. You just don't do anything poor sportsmanship, but you're allowed to be excited. And I was most proud that how I guess most satisfying was just to see the look on our kids' faces and the parents. Like, it was it's a day I'll never forget.
Well, I was just going to say, there was a moment where, you're looking at the score and anyone can kind of do the math and realize, it's looking like it's going to be a high point sweep situation. It felt like a home game in there. I mean, it was loud and everybody was wearing purple who was cheering, obviously. But
it was.
Yeah, I mean, it really did feel that way.
Well, there's a funny thing, too. And, I'm a big sports fan. I've coached other sports, which is not the typical track coach, by the way. But there was a couple moments that would seem obscure that I sort of felt like, just that we were going to win. And it was way before that last day. And nobody would know this, not being knowing the background. But when Duran qualified in the 60, as strange as that sounds, he had been injured and had minimal training opportunities. And Coach Pruitt continually said, hey, he's going to be okay. And I'm thinking, there's no way in the world. He did one curve workout. He qualified. As crazy as this sounds, at that point, I was pretty convinced we were going to win the men's. And then on the women's side, on that first day, to watch, I believe it was Alicia in the long winning that, and our distance kids did what they did. Even with the injuries we had, I would never share that. I was pretty confident we were going to win at that point. So just different moments when it has nothing to do necessarily with the scoreboard on that day, but Duran's toughness that day it convinced me we were going to win.
And just to touch back on that, the reason that you felt that way is because those were points you thought you were going to leave on the board. You didn't think he was going to be able to go, so where he can place, and you thought you weren't going to have him. Then to have him and have him do the way he did, it's like those are points we thought we weren't even counting those in.
Oh, absolutely. And then he does it in the 200 as well. So, absolutely. Our sport is there's no, just like anything. If somebody could be averaging 22 a game in basketball, they could have a poor shooting night. It can happen for us. And athletes, just because they're seeded at this point, we far exceeded seeding though, all across the board, and that's usually a really good sign that your kids were kind of honed in, and that was going to be their day.
Now, to talk about something that is, something that we are sad about, but we'll see a happy side of it. But we didn't get to have the Verte Class this year. But yes. It is something that is, your guys' mark. Besides, if you host a championship, this is the kind of the marquee event that you guys work. You and your staff and everybody at High Point worked hard to, have this event in the way that you guys want it and have it differently. We did a piece on a Q&A with you, a written piece on the website about what it kind of means to you. If you could give us the quick background of the meet that it's based on and kind of your feelings and how important that event is to you.
Yeah, I'll probably butcher the pronunciation. It's Verte Class, which means world class in German. And it's the meet in Zurich. There's a professional tour in Europe. It's now called the Diamond League, used to be called Golden Spike and some other things. And it's always been on my bucket list to go to the meet. It's typically one of the last meets of the summer season. They've done some things with it differently now. But we have obviously a significant friend of the program, Mr. Dick Vert, and we wanted to do a European style meet. That's why we call it a meeting. We're proud to say we have the only meeting in the US. And we kind of, I guess I'll take credit for coming up with Verte Class instead of Verte Class. Very few people know that. And it's now interesting when people call us about the meet, they don't say like, hey, we'd like to come to your meet there. They'd say, well, are you having Verte Class this year? So we kind of get a kick out of that. I have a staff that embraces hosting. I have yourself and people in marketing and people across the board in development that embrace hosting with us and trying to make it special. And I'm really appreciative of that. And it's a lot of work, but it's kind of what they say, work of joy or work of, come on, Kevin, you can help me here.
A labor of love.
Labor of love, yes. It's a labor of love that we try to enhance every year, and we had some special plans for this year. And we'll just have, we'll certainly have to, God willing, be able to do that next spring. So, but yeah, it's a lot of fun.
And over the years, if you read that piece, you talk about some of the, the outside of the box events that you guys try to do to, whether it be, a student race or a mascot race. It feels like you guys have tried everything, but one question I wanted to ask, was there an event that you have in the tank still that you've thought about that you didn't do or you still want to do? Is there one that didn't make the cut so far?
Well, the one that we tried and I didn't realize how difficult it was the mascot pole vault. And we actually had, there's a good video if you look at a European meet, it's funny, but I didn't realize we had two actually decent pole vaulters one in the Panther, one in the Demon Deke at that year. And it's pretty difficult to get off the ground in that. Yeah, there's ideas we've had that this year we were going to time the 40 yards, which because everybody relates to 40 yards, football, and we're going to have it 100%. I think the biggest, I don't mean this as a disappointment, but we always thought that getting the sororities and fraternities to get the Greek life more involved, like in a relay per se. We tried to do that the first couple of years, let them really get jacked up all week, and they all come out in their colors and have a 4x1 or something like that, and they get bragging rights, and it just never took off. And I think that would be one that could be really cool. Maybe if we have libations there, that would make it more likely that they would show. But we did give the Prowler Growler to the winner of the Greek women's 100 meters. It's supposed to be continued, but I have no idea where that growler went. So it's on some mantle somewhere, I think. Oh.
We've talked about how the spring kind of came to, I'll say a sudden end, kind of a shocking end. But you and your staff have continued to work in a different way, in a way that you guys always do. You guys stay recruiting. You've been doing that during the allotted time period that you've had. What can you tell us about kind of the progress of what you guys have been doing during this time?
Well, all sports are in the midst of a dead period, and of course, most people outside don't know what that means. It simply means we can't have any face-to-face contact, either on campus or off campus. So essentially, what we're allowed to do is call, text, Instagram. What are all the things now? Zoom. and things like that in order to recruit. Coach Pruitt has probably been the most aggressive right now. And the reason for, well, she is anyway, she's just exceptional. The reason for that is a lot of these kids, in particular sprinters and jumpers, bank on their end of their indoor season and outdoor season to improve their marks, to hopefully improve their opportunities. Well, they don't have those this spring, so it's kind of changed the landscape quite a bit. So you're recruiting kids without their senior marks. You're recruiting kids, and now again, our calendar is a little different than the other sports. Most other sports are well onto their next year's class and the class after that. We oftentimes will pick up kids in the spring, and it's been pretty good to us too the last couple of years, as kids who haven't quite emerged that we have identified, and then they do emerge, and at that point, a lot of the other schools have lost interest or moved on. So basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to continue to build our roster for next year, and our coaches are doing a really good job with that. We have some good kids coming next year. So.
Certainly a lot to be excited about, Coach. That is all that I have. Do you have anything you want to say before we get out of here? Anything that we haven't talked about yet?
All of our coaches, we miss the kids. This is my first year in probably over 40 years without a spring season. So my wife is a little worried about my sanity, and she's probably pretty accurate. We're doing all we can to keep engaged with the kids. But we do it a little differently. Obviously, we don't do all 100 kids at the same time. Our individual event groups are in touch with the kids weekly. Coach Pruitt's probably a little more. Coach Tamer works with, is virtually meeting with his distance girls weekly, and Coach Houston as well, and Coach Hall. So we just want everybody to stay safe. We certainly hope to be back in the fall. I think that I'm a glass half full. I think that we're going to be able to. I don't think it's ever going to be the same, but it's interesting that when I'm out and about now, how many people I see out walking, jogging, biking that you didn't normally see prior to this, which is, I guess, I don't know if ironic's the word because we have this social distancing, but hopefully that's another, we talked a lot about the kids all the time about about adversity. And we say, having a bad race is not adversity. And, when we met with our kids before they left, we said, this is adversity. This is, so many people are being impacted economically, physically, obviously emotionally. And we as coaches have got to do a good job of, and backtracking as a team, we said we got to work together to get through this. And the strength of a team, I think, gives these kids a few more, I don't want to say weapons, what's the right word, Kevin? A few more avenues to get through a really unusual time.
And Coach, nothing like asking at the end, but I hope you're doing okay. I know I should have started with that.
Yeah, you as well, Kevin. I'm fine. My wife's fine. My mom's fine. And I have numerous family members in the medical field too, and they're, everybody's good.
That's great. Well, Coach, we know, that you're just ready to get back out there. So I know this is a weird time for you, but it's always good to talk to you, and you can always feel, your energy and your excitement, come through the screen. So we always appreciate the time, and look forward to seeing you real soon.
Kevin, thank you very much.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep, take care.